Imagine a world without words, where the first humans shared thoughts through gestures, sounds, and the silent language of the earth. This is the story of how we began to speak. Before we had language, we had expression. The first humans used tools, made art, and told stories through symbols carved into bones and cave walls. These were the first steps toward meaning. These symbols were more than just marks. They were the first attempts to capture thought, to make the invisible visible, to give shape to the abstract. The journey from instinct to expression is not just about communication. It's about what it means to be human. It's about the first time we reached out, not just to survive, but to connect. This is the dawn of expression, the birth of communication, a moment that shaped the course of human history, and one we are only beginning to understand. When we talk about prehistoric communication, we're not just talking about words or language. We're talking about the earliest ways humans connected, shared ideas, and understood the world around them. These symbols, these marks, some may have been warnings, others celebrations, or maybe even stories passed down through generations before spoken language became dominant. We're looking at the foundations of what it means to be human, how we make sense of our world, how we build relationships, and how we begin to express who we are. This isn't just about the past. It's about understanding how we came to be who we are, and how the act of communicating has always been at the heart of our shared humanity. You might think ancient communication is just about survival, but it's about how we began to shape the world through our voices. Every sound we made, every symbol we left behind, was a step toward becoming the thinkers, the creators we are today. The way we express ourselves is not just a tool. It's a mirror of our minds. If we ignore how our ancestors communicated, we risk missing the roots of our own capacity for meaning and connection. Our ability to convey ideas, even in silence, is a legacy of those who came before us. Understanding their methods helps us see how deeply we're tied to a long, shared story of expression. The tools we use today are just extensions of the tools they used then. Language, art, gesture. To forget that is to forget how we became who we are. In every word we speak, in every symbol we create, we carry forward a silent conversation that began in the dark of prehistory. It's a conversation that still shapes who we are. We begin not with words, but with gestures. Fingers tracing the air, hands shaping meaning in the silence of the cave. These movements, raw and unfiltered, are the first whispers of a shared language. Over time, these gestures evolved into symbols. Simple marks on bones, etched into stone, carved into the earth itself. They were not yet language, but they were the seeds of thought made visible. Then came the voice. Not the spoken word, but the hum of a throat, the resonance of a cave, the vibration of a rhythm. Sound, once trapped in the mind, found a home in the air. And with sound came the first stories, tales of the hunt, warnings of the storm, echoes of ancestors. These were not just sounds, but memories made audible, passed from one mind to another. Finally, the written word emerged, not as a tool for communication, but as a relic of memory, a mark on stone, a symbol in the dark, a bridge between the mind and the world it could not yet fully grasp. Imagine you're standing in a cave, the firelight flickering on the walls. You're trying to tell your friend something important, but you don't have words yet. You use gestures, sounds, and maybe even drawings on the ground to share your thoughts. These early messages were simple, but they helped people understand each other. They could show where food was, or warn about danger, or even tell a story about the sun or the stars. Even without words, these early humans are creating something powerful. They were building a way to share ideas, to connect, and to remember things that mattered. This is how communication began, not with words, but with shared understanding, with pictures, and with the rhythm of voices and movements that made sense to those around you. So, even though they didn't have language like we do today, these early humans were already expressing themselves in ways that helped them survive, bond, and explore the world around them. Before any word was spoken, there was a need to be heard. The first step in communication was not just to make a sound, but to be understood in the right context, at the right time. This meant choosing the right location, a place where voices could travel, where the group could gather, and where the environment would not drown out the message. They would position themselves so that the speaker's voice could reach every listener. This was not just about sound, but about presence, about being seen as the one who held the truth. The setup was more than physical. It was a ritual of attention, of shared meaning, of aligning with the moment to ensure the message would not be lost. In this way, the first step was not just about speaking, but about creating a space where speaking could matter. It was about being heard, and about being ready to listen. The next step in this process is the formation of the signal itself. A sound, a gesture, a mark. Each one is a physical manifestation of thought, shaped by the body and the environment. This signal must be clear enough to be perceived, but flexible enough to carry meaning beyond the immediate moment. It is not just about making a mark, but about making it understood. In this way, prehistoric communication becomes an act of collaboration between the self and the world. The signal is both an extension of the body and a bridge to others. Each signal is a fragment of thought, a small but vital piece of the larger puzzle of shared meaning. It is the first step toward building a language that is both personal and communal. To understand this process is to glimpse the origins of thought itself, how humans began to shape the world not just with tools, but with ideas, with symbols, and with each other. The clever twist lies in the way early humans began to layer meaning, using symbols and gestures to represent ideas beyond the immediate. This was not just communication. It was the first form of storytelling. By combining shapes, sounds, and actions, they created a language that could convey abstract thoughts, like danger or hunger, without needing to be physically present with the object itself. This was the first step toward a shared mental space, where meaning could be passed from one mind to another, even across time and distance. These early expressions were not just functional. They were the seeds of imagination, memory, and the human capacity to build meaning from chaos. In this way, the act of communication became something more than exchange. It became creation. Beneath the surface of ancient symbols lies a science of meaning, shaped by the human brain's relentless drive to connect. Neuroscience suggests that even prehistoric humans used the same neural pathways to create and interpret meaning, linking gesture, sound, and image. This capacity for abstraction is what allowed early humans to move beyond the immediate, to tell stories, to plan for the future, and to build culture. The science of prehistoric communication is not about the tools they used, but the profound way they used their minds to shape the world around them. In every line, every dot, there is a hum of human intention, a science that is both ancient and universal, waiting to be understood. Imagine a world where every word is a shadow, and every idea is a whisper carried by the wind. We communicate not with symbols, but with the rhythm of our breath, the shape of our hands, and the weight of our silence. It's like trying to explain the taste of a fruit to someone who has never seen one, only felt the roughness of its skin and heard the sound of its peel cracking. We gesture, we mimic, we repeat, and we hope the meaning lingers. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. Imagine a world without words, where knowledge was passed down through memory and meaning was carried by the hands of those who came before. Then, one day, something changed. A mark was made on a surface, and with it, the first seeds of human thought began to take root. These marks were not just random scratches. They were the first steps toward capturing the invisible, the first way to hold a thought beyond the moment. And in that moment, something profound happened. The human spirit found a way to make its voice heard, not just spoken, but written. It was the birth of storytelling, not just of language, but of a new way to see the world and to remember it. So what exactly are we talking about? We're not just looking at symbols. We're looking at the moment when humanity decided to capture its thoughts in a form that could outlive the speaker. These symbols weren't just marks on a surface. They were a bridge between the ephemeral and the eternal, between the spoken word and the written record. They were not just communication. They were a form of memory, a way to preserve knowledge, to pass it down across time and space. To create these symbols was to take the chaos of sound and give it form, to turn the intangible into something that could be shared, studied, and remembered. This was not an accident of history. It was a decision, a profound shift in how humans understood themselves and their place in the world. You might think symbols are just ancient doodles, but they're the roots of every story you've ever read, every law you've ever obeyed, and every psalm you've ever sung. Written language is more than a tool. It's the bridge between memory and meaning, between the fleeting and the eternal. Every symbol you see today carries the fingerprints of those who came before you, people who saw the world differently, who tried to capture its essence in lines and curves. To ignore symbols is to ignore the stories that have shaped you, a language that has shaped your mind, and the world that has shaped your understanding. So, yes, you should care. Not just because of what you learned, but because of what you're still learning. About yourself, about others, and about the world that gave you all of this. The first symbols were not just marks on clay or stone. They were the first whispers of a human voice, trying to be heard across time. These symbols were born from necessity, from the need to remember, to trade, to preserve what was once spoken and fleeting. From Mesopotamia to Egypt and beyond, these symbols were the first steps toward a universal language, one that would bridge generations and continents. The act of writing was not just about communication. It was about control, about power, about shaping the world with the stroke of a stylus. In those early days, every symbol was a choice, a moment of intention, a bridge between the spoken and the eternal. Imagine you're in a cave, and instead of talking, you draw a picture of a deer. That picture tells a story about where you found food, how many people were with you, and maybe even what happened next. You don't just draw the deer. You draw the sun, the tree, the stick you used to hunt. It's like a picture book, but made with sticks and stone. You're not just drawing what you saw. You're telling a story. That's how we started to write, with pictures that hold meaning for more than just a moment. So when you see a symbol, think of it as a little story, waiting to be told, just like the one you drew in the cave long ago. Before words could be etched on the stone or drawn in clay, there was a need, deep, urgent, and rooted in survival. People had to remember who they were, where they came from, and how to pass on their stories. This need gave rise to the first symbols, not as words, but as signs. They were marks that held meaning, like a spiral for a river or a line for a path, each one a thread in the fabric of human memory. These symbols were not just images, they were promises. They carried the weight of history, the shape of identity, and the hope of continuity. They were the first steps toward a shared language. The act of creating these symbols was sacred. It was not just recording, it was remembering, honoring, and encoding the essence of a people into something that could outlive them. Each symbol, though simple, was a bridge between the past and the future. It was the first language of the mind, the beginning of the story that would one day be written in ink and inked into history. Now, the next step is to understand how these symbols are arranged to convey meaning. The process is not random, but follows a logical sequence, much like the way we construct sentences today. Each symbol represents a sound, a concept, or a word, and when placed next to one another, they form a coherent message. This system of arrangement is the foundation of how language becomes written. This structured approach is what allows written language to evolve, to be taught, and to be passed down through generations. It is the bridge between spoken words and lasting records. By mastering these patterns, people could store knowledge, share stories, and even preserve their identity. The written word became a tool for shaping history itself. The final, most brilliant step in this process was not just recording speech, but capturing the structure of language itself. The scribes realized that meaning wasn't just in the sound, but in the way words connected. They began to represent not just words, but ideas and relationships. A single symbol could stand for a concept, a verb, or a whole sentence, depending on context. The scribe didn't just write a word. They wrote a concept, a relationship, a moment. This was the birth of something truly new. Writing is a way of thinking. In this final twist, language didn't just record the world. It began to shape it. And with that, the foundation of human history was laid. Beneath the surface of these ancient symbols lies a science that defies time. These marks were not random, but carefully crafted, shaped by the minds of early humans who saw in them the power to preserve thought and memory. Each symbol was a bridge between the known and the unknown, between the present and the past. They were not just letters, but vessels of meaning, carrying stories across generations with a weight that defied forgetting. These early systems were not perfect, but they were powerful. They allowed for the first time in human history the possibility of record keeping, of preserving knowledge beyond the limits of memory and voice. This was not just an act of writing, but of making sense of the world. The symbols were not just marks on a surface. They were a way of seeing, of understanding, of giving form to the intangible. In the quiet hum of these ancient symbols, we hear the echo of a revolution. Not of war, but of thought. The birth of written language was not a moment, but a slow, deliberate unfolding of human potential. Imagine a child trying to explain the sky to a group of adults. They point, they gesture, they say blue. The adults nod, but they don't see the same thing. Language is like that. It's a shared illusion, a way to point at the world and say, this is what we mean. Written language is a similar act of translation. It's not the world itself, but a way to capture a moment, to make the intangible tangible. It's like trying to draw a shadow. You can't capture the light, but you can make it visible. This is why writing is both a tool and a mystery. It doesn't create meaning, but it gives meaning a home. It's the first step toward making the world speak, even if it's just in the shape of a symbol. In the end, written language is not about accuracy, but about connection. It's a way to share the world, even if only in fragments, like a child's gesture, or a shadow, or a dot on a page. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. Long before the first page was ever written, stories were carried in the voices of our ancestors. They were not just told, they were lived, breathed, and passed down like blood through the generations. These were not mere tales, but the lifeblood of culture, the way history was remembered, the way values were taught, and the way communities stayed connected across time and distance. Today, we take for granted the written word, but in the beginning, poetry was the first form of storytelling, a living, breathing art that shaped the way we think, feel, and understand the world. This video is about how we came to value words in such a way, and how the rise of oral traditions laid the foundation for the poetry that still moves us today. So what exactly are we talking about? We're talking about the stories, songs, and poems that have carried our ancestors' wisdom through time, long before the written word was ever a thing. These were not just stories. They were memory, history, and identity, passed down in rhythm and repetition, ensuring that no lesson was ever forgotten. Oral traditions thrived in societies where writing was either impractical, inaccessible, or not yet invented, and they shaped how people understood their world and their place in it. Poetry, in this context, was more than words. It was a living, breathing vessel of culture, a way to preserve and celebrate what it meant to be human. And so we look back not just to learn about the past, but to understand how language, memory, and meaning have always been intertwined in the human experience. You might think poetry is just art, but it's also a mirror. It shows us how people remember, how they tell stories, and how they hold on to who they are. Oral traditions are the roots of our culture. They keep history alive when written records fade, and they shape the way we see the world. Poetry isn't just about rhythm and rhyme. It's about how we communicate truth, pain, and beauty in a way that feels real and raw. Every time you hear a poem, you're hearing echoes of the past. These words hold the weight of centuries, and they still matter today. So maybe you don't read much poetry, but you still live in a world shaped by it. That's why you should care. Not because you're asked to, but because it's already in you. Before the written words, stories were passed down through speech, shaped by memory and rhythm. These oral traditions formed the roots of human culture, binding communities through shared history and identity. In ancient Mesopotamia, poets used clay tablets to preserve stories, but before that, they spoke them into existence. These tales were not just entertainment, they were the way people remembered who they were. The oral traditions of the Griots in West Africa carried histories, laws, and wisdom through generations. Their poetry was a living archive, a way to preserve truth in a world of constant change. As writing spread, oral traditions didn't fade. They adapted. Poets began to write down their words, but the rhythm and memory remained, shaping the way we think about language and meaning. Today, oral traditions live on in spoken word, storytelling, and poetry. They remind us that language is more than a tool. It's a living memory, a bridge between the past and the future. Imagine your grandma telling you a story about the old days, and you're the only one listening. That's what oral traditions are like, just without the grandma. Poetry isn't just words on a page. It's a song, a rhythm, a feeling. It's how people remember stories when they don't have paper to write on. Poetry is like a heartbeat. It keeps the stories alive, even when the world changes. It's how people remember who they are. Even now, in this world of screens and books, the old ways still live. They're just hiding in songs and speeches, in the way people speak. Before a poem is spoken, there's a moment of stillness. The air holds its breath, the audience leans in, and the poet stands at the edge of the firelight, heart pounding like a drum. The setup begins with intention. The poet gathers their thoughts, draws on memory, and prepares to translate the weight of their experience into words that will carry across time and space. The poet knows that a poem is not just a story. It's a vessel. It carries the history of a people, the voice of the unseen, and the pulse of a culture that has endured through silence. Every word is a choice, every pause a breath, and every sentence is a thread woven into the fabric of the past. The setup is not just about speaking. It's about remembering. This is where the journey begins. The setup is the silent act of preparation, the quiet moment before the poem is spoken, and the world is ready to listen. Once the story is shared, the next step is to keep it alive. This requires more than memory. It demands ritual, repetition, and a deep connection to the past that shapes the present. Poets and storytellers often use memory aids, mnemonic devices, like rhythm, rhyme, and repetition. These tools help them carry the story across generations without losing its meaning. The performance is more than entertainment. It is a form of cultural preservation. Each telling is an act of recreation, a way to ensure the story remains relevant and alive in the ever-changing world. This process is cyclical. The story is passed down, adapted, and reinterpreted, but the core remains intact. It is a living tradition shaped by time, memory, and the collective will of the people. The clever twist is where the poet introduces a sudden shift, a reversal of expectation, to keep the audience on edge and deepen the meaning of the story. This twist might be a character's betrayal, a sudden revelation, or a twist in the narrative that redefines everything the audience thought they knew. It forces the audience to think, to question, and to see the story from a new perspective, often revealing deeper truths about the world and the human condition. This step is where the poet turns the story into something more than mere entertainment. It becomes a mirror, reflecting the complexities of life itself. Beneath the rhythm of words and the pulse of memory, there is a science older than writing itself, a science of sound, repetition, and resonance that our brains have always relied on to store and pass down knowledge. Neuroscience now confirms what ancient poets knew. Our brains are wired to remember patterns, especially when they're tied to emotion and repetition. This is why oral traditions have endured across millennia. Even in the age of technology, the human mind still craves the warmth of spoken word. It's not just information. It's connection, rhythm, and a shared experience that transcends time. Oral traditions are more than history. They are a living science, a way of preserving truth through memory, and a reminder that language itself is a kind of alchemy, turning sound into meaning. Imagine a river, wide and slow, carrying stories from the mountains to the sea. Each stone in its path is a verse, shaped by time and tide, yet still holding the echo of the source. The river doesn't write its own words, but it carries them, ancient, unbroken, passed from one current to the next. It doesn't know the meaning, but it knows the rhythm. So too does the oral tradition flow. Not as a written script, but as a living current. It is shaped by voices, not ink, and survives not in silence, but in song. It is not about perfection, but presence. The river doesn't care if its stones are carved by human hands or worn by time. It just flows and carries the weight of the past. And like the river, oral traditions are not dumb. They are the pulse of a people, the memory of a world that has never been written down, only remembered. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. Imagine a world where every idea, every emotion, every story was trapped in the mind, unspoken, unshared, unseen. There was no way to write it down, no way to pass it on, no way to make it last beyond the breath of a single moment. It began with a simple question. How can we capture the world in a way that lasts forever? The answer came in the form of letters, individual marks that could be combined to create words, and words to create meaning. This was not just an invention. It was a revolution. The moment when humanity finally learned to speak across time and space. So what exactly are we talking about? The alphabet isn't just letters. It's a system of symbols that represent sounds. Before it, people used pictures to communicate, but that was limited. The alphabet made language portable, flexible, and powerful. It wasn't just about writing. It was about thinking. The alphabet allowed people to record ideas, share stories, and pass knowledge across generations. It changed how we saw the world and how we saw ourselves. The alphabet didn't appear out of nowhere. It evolved from earlier systems, like cuneiform or hieroglyphics. But unlike those, it simplified communication by using a small set of symbols to represent speech sounds. It wasn't just for scribes or rulers. The alphabet made literacy possible for more people. It gave power to the common person, not just the elite. That's why it was such a radical shift in human history. So when we talk about the alphabet, we're not just talking about letters. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how humans connect, think, and preserve their cultures across time. You might think the alphabet is just a tool for writing, but it's actually a key to unlocking the vastness of human thought. Every time you read a book, send a message, or even just think in words, you're using a system that was once a radical innovation. The alphabet didn't just change how we write. It changed how we think, how we organize ideas, and how we share them across time and space. It's the invisible structure behind every story, every instruction, every law, and every dream. Without the alphabet, our history would be written in symbols that only a few could interpret. But now, every child can learn to read and write, and that power is in your hands. The alphabet is more than a collection of letters. It's the foundation of modern life. It's how we preserve knowledge, connect with others, and build the future. So, the next time you pick up a book or send a text, remember that you're using a system that changed the course of human history, and that's something worth quietly admiring. The alphabet didn't spring fully formed from the mind of a single inventor. It evolved from the pictographs of ancient Sumer, where symbols represented entire ideas, not just sounds. By 1500 BCE, the Proto-Sinaitic script emerged in the Sinai Peninsula, a system of symbols that began to represent sounds rather than objects, marking the first step toward an alphabet. From there, the Phoenicians refined it into a 22-letter system, a practical and efficient way to write, which would later be adapted by the Greeks and then the Romans. This shift from pictographs to phonetic symbols wasn't just a technical advancement. It was a cultural revolution, allowing people to record and share ideas across vast distances for the first time. And so, the alphabet became the foundation of all modern writing systems, a tool that would shape the course of human history in ways we still feel today. Imagine you can talk to someone far away, but you can't use your voice. You have to use pictures to say what you want. That's how people used to communicate before the alphabet. But then, someone had a brilliant idea. Instead of drawing pictures every time, they used just a few lines to show the same thing. It was like making a secret code that everyone could understand. This new way of writing let people share stories, trade goods, and even make laws. It was the first time people could write down their thoughts and pass them on to others. The alphabet didn't just change how we write, it changed how we think. It helped us remember, plan, and dream about the future. So the alphabet was more than just letters. It was a way to connect, to record, and to grow. It's the beginning of how we share our world with each other. Before the alphabet could shape history, it needed a foundation. The earliest scripts were symbols, not letters. Images that stood for whole ideas, like a sun or a tree. These were the tools of scribes, not the people. But symbols alone couldn't carry the complexity of speech. They were like a language of pictures, limited in what they could express. A new idea was needed, something more precise, more flexible. That idea came in the form of a radical shift. Instead of representing ideas, symbols now represented sounds, specific, distinct, and repeatable. This was the birth of phonetic writing, a new kind of tool. But even with this innovation, the alphabet wasn't a finished system. It needed a structure, a way to organize these sounds into a coherent system that could be passed down and used by others. So the first step wasn't just about creating letters. It was about building a system, a way to represent speech, to make it tangible, to give it a physical form that could be shared, preserved, and expanded. The first step was the creation of symbols. But now we must understand how these symbols are arranged and used. Each symbol represents a sound, not a thing, which makes it far more flexible and powerful than pictographs. The arrangement of these symbols follows a simple, yet revolutionary principle. Each symbol stands for a single sound, not a whole object or idea. This allows for the expression of complex thoughts and new concepts. This linear structure made it possible to write stories, keep records, and pass down knowledge across generations. It was a shift from the static visual nature of pictographs to a dynamic symbolic system. By breaking down language into individual sounds, the alphabet allowed for the creation of new words and the adaptation of language to new situations, making communication more precise and versatile. This mechanism, though simple in design, was profound in its impact. It laid the foundation for all modern writing systems and transformed how humans share ideas, record history, and build knowledge. Now, let's think about the clever twist that made the alphabet truly revolutionary. Unlike earlier systems, the alphabet didn't just represent sounds. It gave each sound its own unique mark, making it easier to write and read. This meant that instead of drawing pictures for each word, people could now use a simple set of symbols to represent sounds, making writing more flexible and efficient. This system allowed for the creation of new words, the recording of laws, and even the sharing of stories across generations, all through a shared set of symbols. The alphabet wasn't just a tool for communication. It was a way of thinking, a bridge between the spoken and written word that reshaped human history. This clever twist, assigning a unique symbol to each sound, was the key that unlocked the power of writing and set the stage for the written word as we know it today. At its core, the alphabet is a system of symbols, each representing a sound. These symbols were not random, but carefully crafted, designed to be both distinct and easy to remember. The phonetic nature of the alphabet allowed for a new kind of communication, one that could be written down and passed on, preserving the spoken word in a permanent form. The creation of the alphabet wasn't just about language. It was about control, record-keeping, and the ability to think in new ways. Each symbol became a tool for shaping thought itself. This system of symbols, though simple in design, carried with it the weight of history. It transformed how humans recorded their world and how they saw themselves. The science of the alphabet isn't just in its symbols. It's in the way they were made, shared, and passed down, forming the foundation of all written communication. So imagine, if you will, that the alphabet is like a recipe book for making language. Instead of ingredients, it gives you letters. And instead of dishes, it gives you words. Before the alphabet, people had to use pictures to say what they wanted. It was slow, and it left a lot to the imagination. With the alphabet, language became like a flexible tool, something you can shape and mold with precision. It made communication faster and more precise. It wasn't just about writing. It changed how we think, how we learn, and how we see the world. The alphabet gave us a new way to look at reality. So in the end, the alphabet wasn't just a set of symbols. It was a kind of magic, a way to turn thought into sound and sound into meaning. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. Imagine a world where knowledge was locked away, guarded by the few and hidden from the many. In the year 1440, in a quiet workshop in Mainz, something changed the course of human history. A man named Johannes Gutenberg stood over his invention, his hand steady, his mind racing. This was not just a machine, it was a revolution in the making. For the first time, books were no longer the privilege of the elite. They became a tool, a weapon, and a beacon of hope for the many. This was not just a new way to print words. It was a new way to think, to question, and to dream of a world that had never been imagined. And so, with a single press and an unshakable belief in the power of ideas, the world began to turn in a direction it had never taken before. So what exactly are we talking about? The printing press was not just a machine. It was a revolution in the way knowledge was created, shared, and preserved. Before it, books were painstakingly copied by hand, a process that limited access to only the elite. Then came Gutenberg's press, a marvel of engineering and vision. It transformed the labor of writing from a solitary, time-consuming task into something that could be replicated at scale, changing the very nature of human communication. With each printed page, the boundaries of knowledge expanded. No longer was learning the privilege of a few. It became a possibility for many. The press was the first true democratizer of thought. But this was more than a technological shift. It was a cultural one. The press allowed for the questioning of authority, the challenging of dogma, and the birth of a new era of inquiry and intellectual freedom. The printing press was not just a tool. It was an idea that knowledge, once locked away, could be shared, debated, and transformed. It was the first step toward a world where ideas could travel faster than people. You might think this is just about books, but it's about how ideas can outlive empires. The printing press didn't just change what we read. It changed who could read and who could write. Imagine if every idea had to be carved by hand, passed down like sacred texts. The press made knowledge portable, and with it the power to challenge authority, to question, to dream. The press didn't just spread information, it spread revolution. From Martin Luther's 95 Theses to the works of Galileo, it gave voice to the voiceless and turned the world into a conversation. Today, you may not even know the name of the man who invented it, but you live in a world he made possible. Every book, every article, every click of a keyboard, it all traces back to that first press. So, when you scroll through the news or pick up a book, remember, you're holding a legacy. The printing press gave us the tools to think, to connect, to reshape the future. One page at a time. The printing press didn't just change how we made books, it changed how we thought about knowledge itself. Before it, books were rare, and ideas were locked away in the hands of a few. In the 1440s, Gutenberg's press and mines transformed this slow, laborious process into something mechanical and scalable. It was like the first time a child saw a machine that could do the work of 100 hands. With books now affordable, ideas began to flow like water through cracks in a dam. The Renaissance thinkers, the reformers, the scientists, they all found their voices in print. But the press was more than a tool. It was a revolution. It gave people power, and power, once in the hands of the many, could no longer be contained by the few. The press didn't just spread knowledge. It spread rebellion, faith, and the seeds of modernity. It was the first time ideas could travel faster than the people who created them. Imagine you have a story you want to tell, but you can only share it with one person at a time. That's how people shared stories before the printing press. Then someone came up with a clever idea, a machine that could copy the same story over and over, so more people could hear it. Before this, stories stayed in the hands of a few. Now, they could travel far and wide, like magic. That machine changed the world. It didn't just copy words, it copied ideas, and ideas can change everything. Before the first word is pressed into paper, the press must be set. The wooden frame, known as the chase, is the heart of the operation, its edges carefully crafted to hold the type in place. Each letter is hand-carved from metal, its curves and angles precise, and then arranged in a grid like a puzzle. The process is slow, but each piece is a foundation for the future. Once the arrangement is complete, the type is locked into place with a series of wooden bars and clamps, creating a solid block of text ready to be printed. The press itself is a marvel of engineering. Its iron frame and polished wooden platen waiting to transfer ink and paper with precision and force. Every element must be in place before the press is turned. The ink must be thick enough, the paper must be dry, and the type must be perfectly aligned for the first stroke of the press. Once the ink is prepared, the press operator positions the dampened paper against the inked surface. With steady hands, they lower the heavy press frame onto the paper, applying just the right pressure to transfer the ink without smearing. The pressure is crucial. Too little and the print will be faint. Too much and the ink will bleed. It's a delicate balance, requiring experience and precision to ensure every letter and image transfers clearly. After the press is released, the paper is lifted, revealing the printed text. The operator then carefully removes any excess ink, using a small brush or cloth to avoid smudging the freshly printed surface. Each press run is a labor of patience and repetition. The operator may work for hours, producing dozens of copies, each one a faithful reproduction of the original, yet unique in its own way. This mechanical process, though simple in design, was revolutionary. It allowed knowledge to be reproduced at scale, breaking the monopoly of the scribe and setting the stage for a new era of learning and thought. The press is not a single, unbroken action. It is a sequence, a rhythm, a dance of force and precision. Each step builds on the last, and the final movement is what separates the printed page from the blank one. Now, the press is lifted, and the paper is placed in its place. It is a delicate moment, a balancing act between speed and care, for the paper must be perfectly aligned to capture the ink without distortion. The final stroke is the most subtle, the most crucial. It is the moment when the press completes its motion, and the paper is separated from the form. The ink is transferred, the image is fixed, and the word becomes real. This is the clever twist, the moment when the press does not merely press, but transforms. It is the act of creation through repetition, the way knowledge is not only preserved but made accessible, one sheet at a time. Underneath the press, there was a science of force and motion, a quiet revolution of mechanics that made the printing of books possible. The press was not just a tool, but a culmination of centuries of human ingenuity. The ink, though simple in appearance, was a complex mixture of oils and tannins, carefully balanced to cling to the type and transfer cleanly to paper. It was an alchemy of chemistry and craftsmanship. The paper, often made from rags or wood pulp, was a fragile but essential material. Its quality could make or break the final product, and printers took great care in selecting and preparing it. And then the press itself, a machine that transformed words into power, that turned the weight of knowledge into something that could be carried, read, and shared across generations. Imagine a world where knowledge is trapped in a locked vault, accessible only to a few. The printing press was the key that turned the lock, allowing the vault to open for all. Before the press, ideas were like seeds in a sealed jar, hidden, protected, but unable to grow. The press scattered them across the land, letting them take root in every corner of society. The printing press didn't just print words. It printed the future. It allowed ideas to multiply, spread, and evolve in ways no one could have predicted. In the end, the press was more than a machine. It was a revolution in the quietest sense, changing the shape of human thought and the course of history. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You've probably never seen one, but imagine a newspaper that could deliver news from across the world in minutes. Not hours, not days, minutes. That's the story of the Telegraph, and it started with a single, electrifying idea. In 1837, a man named Samuel Morse, an inventor with a mind like a puzzle, had a vision. He imagined wires and signals, something that could bridge vast distances with speed and precision. His idea was simple in concept, but revolutionary in execution. Use electricity to send messages across wires. It was a way to make the world smaller, to bring the distant near. The first successful transmission was a simple message, but it carried the weight of a new era. It wasn't just a message. It was the first pulse of a global conversation. This was the moment when communication went from taking weeks to taking seconds. And it changed everything. Business, war, politics, and our understanding of time itself. We're talking about a machine that could send a message across the world in minutes, not days. It was the first step toward a world where distance no longer meant delay. It was called the Telegraph, and it used electrical signals to send coded messages through wires. The idea was simple, but its impact was revolutionary. Before the telegraph, news traveled at the speed of a horse or ship. Now, messages could cross continents in seconds, altering the course of history. This was not just about speed. It was about control, about who got the news first, and who could shape the narrative of an entire world. The telegraph was more than a tool. It was a bridge between the known and the unknown, between the past and the future, and between people who had never met. You might not realize it, but every time you send a message, you're continuing a legacy that began with the telegraph. It's not just about speed. It's about how we've redefined the very idea of connection. The telegraph didn't just change how we communicated. It changed how we thought about time, distance, and the world itself. It gave us the first taste of a globally connected society. The telegraph taught us that distance is not a barrier. It's just a delay. And now, with a click, we can be in touch with anyone, anywhere, at any time. You might think it's just a tool, but the telegraph was the beginning of something much bigger. The foundation of the internet. The birth of the modern world as we know it. So, yes, it's old, but it's also the reason you can talk to your friend across the world in seconds. That's why you should secretly care about this story. The first telegraph line was completed in 1837, stretching between Washington and Baltimore. It wasn't a single wire, but a complex system of relays, each a fragile link in a chain of human ingenuity. The first successful transmission occurred on May 24th, 1844, when Samuel Morse sent the message, "What hath God wrought?" across the Atlantic. It was a moment of pure human connection, measured in seconds rather than days. The telegraph didn't just change how we communicated. It reshaped the very nature of time and distance. It was the first time the world could feel the pulse of another place, in real time. By the 1860s, the telegraph had connected continents. The first transatlantic cable, laid in 1866, allowed messages to cross the ocean in minutes, not weeks. It was a bridge between the known and the unknown. The telegraph was more than a tool. It was a revolution. It gave birth to news as we know it, to the modern press, and to the idea that distance could be overcome with wire and will. Imagine you're holding a pencil, and you write a word on a piece of paper. Then you wait, and someone far away gets that word, just like magic. But how does that word get to the other person? It's like a secret path that only the right people can follow. The telegraph was like that secret path, but for grown-ups. It used wires and special codes to send messages faster than a horse could run. It wasn't about the words themselves, but about making the words travel fast, so people could talk to each other across the world in minutes. The telegraph was the first time humans could send a message without waiting for the sun to rise or the moon to set. To begin, the telegraph needed a physical network. This meant laying miles of copper wire, often across deserts, forests, and even the ocean floor. These wires formed the arteries of a new kind of communication. At each endpoint, a telegraph office was established. These were simple buildings, often with a single desk and a large, heavy key. The key was the tool that would send the first pulse of information. These messages, though simple, were the seeds of a new era. They carried news, orders, and warnings, and in doing so, transformed how people connected across distances. The setup was not just about the wires or the key. It was about trust, timing, and the human hand that turned a pulse into meaning. It was the foundation upon which the future of communication would be built. The second step is the mechanical relay, a device that turns electrical signals into physical motion. It's like a tiny puppet controlled by electricity moving with precision. Inside the relay, a magnet pulls a metal armature, which in turn closes a switch. This creates a new electrical path, continuing the message across the network. Each relay is like a link in a chain, passing the signal along until it reaches its destination. It's a dance of magnetism and metal, driven by the silent language of electricity. The relay is not just a machine. It's a bridge between the abstract and the real, between the digital and the physical. It's the heart of this mechanical communication system. The clever twist lies in the way the telegraph used a single wire to send multiple messages at once. Not by sending them all at once, but by sending them one after another, like a relay of signals. Each message was encoded into a series of electrical pulses, with short and long bursts representing the dots and dashes of Morse code. This was the key to turning letters into electricity. The system was designed so that multiple operators could work on the same line at different times, switching messages like a shared thread in a tapestry, ensuring no signal was lost or confused. This method of multiplexing, sending multiple messages over the same wire, was a radical departure from earlier systems and laid the foundation for modern telecommunications. The clever twist wasn't just in the code, but in the way the telegraph transformed communication from a slow, handwritten process into something that could travel across continents in minutes. At the heart of it all lies the physical phenomenon of electricity, a force that moves through copper wires with the speed of thought, carrying messages across vast distances in the blink of an eye. This isn't magic. It's the precise orchestration of voltage and current, a silent ballet of electrons that bridges continents and connects minds across time. The telegraph wasn't just a tool. It was a revolution in the way humans perceive time and distance, a shift from the slow, tangible world of letters to the electric, instantaneous world of thought. And in that moment, when the first message passed through the wire, something profound changed. The world began to shrink, and communication began to move faster than the eye could follow. The science behind the telegraph was simple in form, but its impact was profound, laying the foundation for the modern world we now live in. Imagine a world where every message you send takes a week to reach its destination. You write a letter, seal it, and send it off, only to wait days, maybe weeks, for a reply. That's the reality before the telegraph, and it's a world we've only really forgotten. Then, one day, a new kind of message arrives. It's not a letter, not a voice, but a pulse of electricity that moves faster than a horse can run. It's like a lightning bolt, but with meaning. To understand the telegraph, think of it like a game of telephone, but with a twist. Instead of whispering secrets, you're sending electric signals. Each letter is turned into a number, and each number is a pulse. It's not a conversation, but a message that travels at lightning speed. This is the magic of the telegraph. It doesn't just change how we communicate. It changes what we think is possible. It's a small step, but it's a step toward a world where distance is no longer a barrier. In the end, the telegraph was more than a tool. It was a spark in the dark, a promise that we could be connected, even when we were far apart. And that spark laid the foundation for everything that came after. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. There was a time when silence ruled the world, and the only sound you could trust was your own breathing. Then, something changed. A spark of electricity, a hum in the air, and the world began to speak. In the early 1900s, people gathered around these strange boxes, their eyes wide with wonder as voices from far away filled the room. It was as if the world had shrunk and found a way to talk to you. Radio wasn't just a machine. It was a bridge between the known and the unknown, a way to hear the heartbeat of a world that was no longer so far away. It was a moment of connection, of shared experience, of humanity finding a voice in the void. And for the first time, we weren't alone. So what exactly are we talking about? It's not just static or crackling. Radio is a medium that brings sound to life, carrying voices, music, and stories across vast distances in real time. It's the invisible thread connecting people, stitching together communities through shared experiences, even when they're miles apart. Radio gave rise to new forms of storytelling, where the voice became the main character, and silence was as powerful as sound. In the age of sound, radio was the first mass medium to put the human voice at the center of communication, and that changed everything. It's about more than just what you hear. It's about how you feel when you hear it, and how it shapes the way you see the world. Radio isn't just a relic of the past. It's the invisible thread that binds us to the stories we've heard, the voices we've trusted, and the truths we've come to believe. Every time you hear a voice on the radio, you're hearing someone else's life, filtered through their experience, their pain, their hope, something you might never have imagined. In a world of noise, radio offers a quiet intimacy, a space where the listener is not just heard, but understood, even when they're alone. It's in these moments of silence that radio speaks louder than any crowd. It reminds us that we are not alone, even when we feel like we are. So, yes, you might not think about radio every day, but it's there in the background of your life, shaping your thoughts, your feelings, your understanding of the world. And that, in itself, is something worth secretly caring about. The first radio broadcasts were more than just signals. They were the first time humanity could hear across vast distances without the need for sight. This was the birth of a new kind of connection, one that would change how we share and consume information forever. As the years passed, radio evolved from a novelty into a vital part of daily life. It brought news, music, and entertainment to people in their homes, creating a shared experience across the country. In the 1930s and 1940s, radio became the backbone of communication during crises, from war to natural disasters. It was the voice of the nation, the lifeline in the dark. By the 1950s, radio had become a cultural force. It shaped music trends, influenced politics, and gave rise to the first talk shows, where voices from all walks of life found a home. As the world moved into the age of television and then the internet, radio adapted by finding new ways to stay relevant. From talk radio to podcasting, it never lost its voice. Radio is more than a medium. It is a mirror of society, a bridge between people, and a reminder that even in the silence between the static, there is always a voice waiting to be heard. Radio is like a magic box that brings sounds to your ears, even when no one is around. It doesn't need pictures. Just voices and music that make you feel like you're right there, even if you're far away. Radio doesn't just play music. It tells stories, shares news, and makes you feel connected to the world. It's the first way we learned to hear the world, and it changed how we listen, think, and feel about everything. The first step in making radio work is the setup, starting with the microphone, the heart of sound capture. It's a simple device, but it requires more than just pointing it at the speaker. The microphone converts sound waves into electrical signals, translating vibrations into something tangible. Without it, there is no way to record or transmit the human voice. The audio interface then processes the signal, balancing and cleaning it so it's ready for transmission or recording. It's the first step in shaping the sound into something usable. Before the sound becomes radio, it has to be amplified. This is where the signal grows strong enough to travel through the air or through wires to its final destination. This setup is the foundation of everything that follows, where sound becomes electricity and electricity becomes radio. It's a quiet, deliberate process, but it's where it all begins. Once the signal is captured, it's sent to a transmitter. This is where the sound is transformed into radio waves, a form of energy that can travel through the air. Inside the transmitter, the sound waves are combined with a carrier wave. This is like mixing a melody with a steady rhythm, allowing the sound to ride on a wave that can be sent far and wide. The signal is then amplified to a powerful strength. This ensures that the radio waves can travel great distances and be picked up by receivers far away. Finally, the signal is transmitted through an antenna. This is the last step before the sound leaves the station and travels into the air, ready to be received by anyone with a radio. Each step in this process is precise, a dance of energy and information. The mechanism is silent, yet it carries the weight of voices, music, and stories across the world. The clever twist comes when the signal is turned into something more than just sound. It's transformed into a wave of energy. vibrating through the air like a whisper carried on the wind. This wave, once a pattern of electrical pulses, is now something that can travel vast distances. It's like a ripple in a pond, spreading out from its source in all directions. Once the signal is captured, it's not just sound anymore. It's a complex set of electrical signals that need to be decoded. This is where the magic of frequency and modulation comes into play. The final step is to convert those signals back into sound, a process that turns the invisible into the audible, restoring the message to its original form. This entire process, from the sender to the receiver, is a delicate dance of physics and engineering, a testament to human ingenuity and the power of sound. At its core, radio is the art of making invisible waves visible. It's not just sound, it's movement through space, a kind of whisper that travels across the world without a single wire. These waves are invisible, but their power is real. They travel through the air like a tide, carrying voices, music, and messages across vast distances, almost as if the world is connected by an invisible thread. The electromagnetic spectrum is vast, and radio waves sit at its lower end, far from the visible light we see. They're the slow, steady pulse of the universe, almost like the heartbeat of the planet itself. But what makes radio so powerful is that it doesn't just transmit sound. It carries meaning, connection, and memory. It's not just about waves. It's about the weight of silence and the power of words. In the quiet moments when the world seems to pause, radio reminds us that we are part of something larger. It hums beneath our feet, a reminder that we are never truly alone. Imagine a city where every street is a frequency, and every building hums with a unique tune. You walk through the streets, and the sounds of the city blend into a symphony you can quite place. It's everywhere, yet nowhere. Radio is like that city. It's a place where voices, music, and information are carried through the air, but you can't see them. It's a place where meaning is built not by sight, but by sound. It's not perfect. Sometimes the signal is weak, or the words are lost in the noise. But that's part of the magic. Radio doesn't demand your attention. It finds you. It's like a lighthouse in the dark. It doesn't force you to look, but it guides you through the silence. Radio, in its own way, is both a beacon and a whisper. So, in the end, radio is not just a medium. It's a language of the unseen, a bridge between the silent and the spoken, between the past and the present. It's not perfect, but it's gloriously dumb, and it works. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. It started with a flicker, a tiny burst of light in the dark. A single image frozen in time brought a world into our living rooms. It was more than a screen, it was a window. We didn't know it then, but that flicker was the beginning of something vast. A way to see the world as it was, as it happened, as it changed. Television didn't just show us things. It changed how we saw everything. It was strange, really, how a machine made of wires and tubes could make us feel like we were part of something bigger. It was the first time we could be anywhere without leaving home. Television brought the world into our living rooms, but it also brought us into the world. It made the distant familiar, the unknown known, and in doing so, reshaped how we understood ourselves and each other. That flicker, that moment, it was the start of a revolution. Not a violent one, but a quiet, powerful shift in how we saw the world and how the world saw us. So what began as a simple act of watching became something far greater. Television didn't just bring the world into our living rooms. It changed the way we live in the world. Television isn't just a box with a screen. It's a portal, a window, a mirror. It connects us to the farthest corners of the world, yet it also reflects our own lives back at us. It's not about the technology itself, but about the stories it carries. Every broadcast is a thread in a vast tapestry of human experience. woven together across time and space. Television has the power to shape our understanding of the world, to challenge our assumptions, and to bring us together in shared moments of wonder or sorrow. It's a medium that exists in the space between reality and imagination, between what we know and what we might become. You think you're just watching a show, but you're really watching the world unfold in real time. Every episode is a window into places and lives you might never get to see otherwise. The stories you see on TV shape your understanding of the world. They're not just entertainment, they're education. They're empathy. They're a way to connect with people far away. Even in a world that feels too big, TV is the thread that pulls us together. It reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles, our hopes, or our dreams. You might not realize it, but TV is shaping your values, your perspectives, and your understanding of what it means to be human. That's why you should care. Deep down, you already do. The first TV sets were as big as a fridge, their cathode ray tubes glowing with a strange amber light. They were a luxury for the wealthy, a glimpse into a world that felt far away, yet tantalizingly close. The 1960s brought color to the screen, and with it, a new kind of storytelling. Programs like The Ed Sullivan Show brought the stars of Broadway, music, and comedy into every home, creating a shared cultural moment. The 1970s and 1980s saw the rise of network television dramas. Shows like Dallas and The Sopranos became household names, shaping our moral compasses and emotional landscapes through the power of a screen. By the 1990s, cable and satellite TV expanded the possibilities. The world was no longer just on the air. It was in the hands of the viewer, with channels like CNN and MTV offering a new kind of immediacy and diversity. Today, with streaming and smart TVs, the line between the world and our living rooms is blurred entirely. We are no longer passive viewers. We are active participants in a global story, shaped by the same screen that once brought us together. TV is like a window. You can look out and see the world, even if you're stuck inside. It shows you faraway places, and sometimes even things that are happening right now. When the screen lights up, it feels like the world is coming to you. You don't have to leave your home to see what's happening elsewhere. It's like magic, but it's real. Sometimes TV shows you things that are sad or scary. But even then, it's a way to learn, to feel, to grow. It's like a teacher, but it's also a friend. TV doesn't just show the world. It helps you understand it. It brings people together, even if they're miles apart. It's a way to share stories and feel like you're part of something bigger. The journey begins with a simple setup: a TV, a table, and a connection to the world beyond our walls. This is where it all starts, where the invisible threads of information and culture are first woven into our daily lives. The signal, whether from a satellite, a tower, or a cable company, arrives in the form of electromagnetic waves. Invisible, yet powerful. It carries with it the voices, images, and stories of people and places far away. Behind the scenes, a complex network of satellites, towers, and cables carries the signal from its origin to our living rooms. It's a global relay, a silent infrastructure that makes the world feel close. This infrastructure is not just technical. It's a bridge between cultures, a silent agreement that we share the same space, even if we're miles apart. It's a shared responsibility and a shared experience. Every time we turn on the TV, we're not just watching a show. We're engaging with the world. The setup is simple, but its implications are profound. It's a quiet revolution in how we see, understand, and connect with each other. Once the signal leaves the camera, it travels through wires, satellites, or fiber optic lines to reach the transmitter. This journey is more complex than it seems, carrying the essence of live moments across vast distances. At the transmitter, the signal is converted into a broadcast-ready format. It's encoded with information about the content, its location, and timing, ensuring it arrives at the right place at the right moment. This encoded signal then travels through the airwaves or cable networks to reach the viewer's home. It's a silent, invisible journey that connects the world to the living room. The signal is received by an antenna or satellite dish, then processed by a converter or modem that decodes it into a format the TV can display. It's a seamless translation of light and sound into something we can watch. Finally, the TV decodes the signal and displays it as a live feed. What began as a moment captured by a camera is now a shared experience, transmitted across the globe in real time. The signal now arrives at a processing center, where it's split into two streams, one for the broadcast, one for the cable company. This is where the magic of signal duplication begins. Each stream is then encoded differently, one for over-the-air transmission and the other for delivery through fiber optic lines. This ensures every viewer gets the right kind of signal. This step is subtle but crucial. It's the point where the signal becomes a product, ready to be sold, watched, and, in some cases, controlled. The final twist is that the viewer now has a choice between two versions of the same world, each shaped by the path the signal took before reaching their TV screen. Behind the scenes, television is a symphony of signals and silence, a delicate balance of frequencies and light, invisible, yet ever-present in the air we breathe. Each frame of a TV show is a burst of electromagnetic waves, a pulse of information traveling through wires or the air, carrying stories from one place to another. Inside the television itself, electrons race through cathode ray tubes or silicon chips process data, translating invisible signals into images that fill our walls with distant lives. This technology is not just about pictures and sound. It is about connection, about making the world feel smaller, and about letting us see the lives of others, even when we are far away. The science behind television is quiet, unseen, yet it hums beneath every moment of connection, every story shared, every world brought into our living rooms. Television is like a window, but not just any window. It's a window that's been painted with the colors of the world. You can see the sunrise over a distant mountain, or the neon glow of a city street, all from the comfort of your couch. It's not a perfect window, though. It's a bit blurry, and sometimes the colors are washed out, like a faded photograph. But that doesn't make it any less valuable. It's just a different kind of truth. You don't have to be a traveler to see the world through this window. You just have to be willing to look. And sometimes looking is all you need to feel connected to something bigger than yourself. Television doesn't always tell you what to think, but it shows you what's happening. It's a mirror of the world, but also a portal to it. It's not magic, but it's close. So here's the thing. Television isn't just about entertainment. It's about connection, about seeing the world as it is, even if only through a screen. And that, in itself, is a kind of truth. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. Imagine a world where a single idea can travel across continents in seconds, shaping thoughts, cultures, and revolutions. The internet isn't just wires and code. It's the pulse of human connection. It's not just about technology. It's about the exchange of knowledge, the birth of new languages, and the way we shape our reality through what we choose to share. In this digital tapestry, every click, every search, every post is a thread, weaving a global network of ideas that has transformed the way we think, learn, and connect. This is the internet. Not just a tool, but a living, breathing system that reflects the complexity and potential of human imagination. And today, we're diving into the heart of this network, exploring how it's more than just a place to browse. It's a space where ideas are born, shared, and reshaped. So what exactly are we talking about? The internet is more than just a collection of cables and servers. It's a vast, invisible network that connects people, devices, and ideas across the globe. At its core, it's a system of interconnected computers, each speaking a common language, passing data back and forth in the blink of an eye. This is how information travels across oceans and through mountains. It's a place where voices from every corner of the world can be heard, even if they're just a single click away. This is how we connect, learn, and grow together. And yet, for all its power, the internet is still a fragile shared space. Its strength lies not in its size, but in the trust, cooperation, and openness that make it work. So when we talk about the internet as a global network of ideas, we're not just talking about technology. We're talking about the human spirit, the exchange of knowledge, and the future of our shared world. Every time you search for something, you're not just looking for answers. You're shaping the future of knowledge itself. The internet is a living, breathing library that grows and evolves with every click, every share, and every voice that joins the conversations. By engaging with the internet, you're not just consuming information. You're contributing to the collective intelligence of humanity. Your curiosity and participation help build the foundation for what comes next, whether it's new technologies, ideas, or solutions to global challenges. You might not realize it, but every time you click, you're helping to create the world you want to live in. The story of the internet begins in the 1960s, with a military project called ARPANET. This was the first attempt to connect computers across different locations, laying the groundwork for the digital world we know today. In the 1970s, scientists developed the TCP/IP protocol, which allowed computers to communicate over a network. This was a major breakthrough, making the internet possible on a larger scale. By the 1990s, the internet started to evolve into what we recognize today. The World Wide Web, invented by Tim Berners-Lee, made it possible for anyone to access and share information online. The early 2000s saw the internet explode in popularity, with social media, search engines, and e-commerce platforms changing the way people communicate, learn, and do business. Today, the internet is more than just a tool. It's a global network of ideas, connecting people across the world in ways that were once unimaginable. Imagine a giant, invisible playground, where everyone can jump in and play no matter where they live. This playground is filled with stories, songs, and ideas that can be shared and heard by anyone. You can talk to your friend in Tokyo, or learn about a new planet from someone in Brazil, all through this big, shared space that never sleeps. This space isn't just for fun. It's also where people solve big problems, share knowledge, and even help each other when they need it most. So, the internet is like a big, friendly place where everyone can be part of the conversations, no matter where they are in the world. It's not perfect, but it's a place where ideas can travel and where people can learn from each other. That's the magic of it all. The internet begins with a simple setup: a router, an internet service provider, and a network of cables connecting homes, businesses, and data centers across the globe. At the heart of it all is the router, a small device that acts as a traffic director, sending data packets to the right place at the right time. These cables carry data in the form of light pulses, a technology that allows information to travel at nearly the speed of light. Every time you connect to the internet, you're tapping into this vast network of physical infrastructure that spans the globe. This setup is the foundation of everything we do online: email, streaming, searching, and more. Without it, the internet would not exist. Once data is created, it needs a way to travel. This is where routers and switches come in. They act like traffic directors, ensuring data takes the most efficient path to its destination. Routers use something called IP addresses to know where to send data. These are like unique labels for every device on the internet, helping them find their way through the network. Switches, on the other hand, handle data within a local network. They connect devices like your phone, laptop, and printer, making sure information stays within the right group. Together, these devices form a vast, interconnected system. They work in the background, ensuring that every click, message, and stream reaches its intended place without missing a beat. This is the invisible skeleton of the internet, its routing mechanisms. They are the foundation upon which all online communication is built. Once the data is broken into packets, it's time for the clever twist that makes the internet work so smoothly. The packets are assigned unique addresses, like street addresses for mail, so they can be directed to the right destination. These addresses are called IP addresses, and they're assigned by a system called the Domain Name System, or DNS. Think of DNS as the phone book of the internet, translating human-friendly names into machine-readable numbers. When a device sends a packet, it doesn't go directly to the final destination. Instead, it's routed through a series of intermediate devices called routers, which direct it along the best path to its destination. This routing is based on a set of rules called routing protocols, which help the internet adapt and avoid congestion or outages. It's like a smart traffic system that reroutes cars when there's an accident. Each packet travels independently, and even if some packets get lost or delayed, the internet can retransmit them or find an alternate route, ensuring that the final message still arrives intact. At the heart of the internet lies a vast network of interconnected devices, each communicating through standardized protocols that ensure seamless data transfer across the globe. Every time you browse the web or send a message, you're relying on a complex system of routers, switches, and cables that work together like the nervous system of the planet. Fiber optic cables, which transmit data using light, form the backbone of modern internet infrastructure, allowing for faster and more reliable communication than ever before. Behind the scenes, software protocols like TCP/IP and DNS act as the language of the internet, ensuring that data is correctly routed and understood by every device online. This invisible system of science and engineering is what makes the internet not just a tool, but a living, breathing network of ideas that connects us all. Imagine the internet as a vast, invisible city where every person is a street lamp, glowing with ideas and stories. The wires that connect us are like roads, and data is the traffic that flows through them, always moving, always changing. Sometimes the roads get busy and things slow down, but the city never sleeps. It just adapts and keeps going. This city isn't perfect, but it's alive, and it's the place where the world's ideas have found a home. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You've seen it before. A single voice rising from the noise, shaping the world around it. Not a politician or a CEO, but someone you've never met, sharing something that matters. In the past, that voice might have gone unheard, buried under the weight of institutions and gatekeepers. But now, it can echo across millions of screens, breaking barriers that once seemed unbreakable. But here's the thing, this power isn't handed out. It's earned, it's fought for, and it's just as fragile as it is transformative. And that's what we're going to explore. This is not just a story about technology. It's a story about people, about how the tools we use shape the stories we tell, and the world we build. So let's begin with the moment that changed everything for a generation of voices that once had no place to belong. When we talk about social media, we're not just talking about platforms. We're talking about spaces where people can speak, be heard, and sometimes even be listened to in ways that were once unimaginable. It's a world where the traditional gatekeepers of media, the publishers, the editors, the networks, are no longer the only ones with a megaphone. But with that power comes responsibility. The tools that let us speak can also be used to spread misinformation, to divide, or to silence. So when we talk about democratization of voice, we're not just talking about access. We're talking about the balance between freedom and accountability. And that's why this conversation isn't just about technology. It's about trust, about truth, and about the future of how we connect and communicate. You might think your voice doesn't matter, but history has shown that even the quietest whispers can echo through time. In the silence of the crowd, your perspective is a seed waiting to grow. Social media isn't just a platform, it's a mirror. It reflects your thoughts, your frustrations, your hopes, and in that reflection, you see yourself not just as an observer, but as a participant. When you share something online, you're not just posting a thought. You're contributing to a conversation that shapes culture, policy, and identity. It's a collective voice, and you're part of it. The power of a single voice is amplified when it joins millions. You may not feel like you're making a difference, but your words, your stories, your questions, they all matter in the grand tapestry of human expression. This isn't just about attention or validation. It's about accountability. Your voice is a responsibility. And in a world where so many are silenced, it's a tool for justice, for truth, for change. You should care because your voice is not just heard, it's needed. And in the quiet spaces of the digital world, your voice has the potential to be louder than you ever imagined. The first wave of social media began with platforms like 6 Degrees, where people could connect with friends and share updates. It was simple, but it set the stage for a new kind of conversations. Then came MySpace and Friendster, where teenage users created elaborate profiles and communities. It was a new kind of identity, built in the digital space. Twitter, launched in 2006, turned public conversation into a real-time feed. It gave everyone a microphone, even if it was just 280 characters. Instagram emerged as a visual platform, where images became a form of storytelling. It changed how we saw the world, through filters and curated moments. Today, platforms like TikTok and YouTube have turned content creation into a global phenomenon. Anyone with a phone can share their voice, their story, their perspective. Imagine you're standing on a big hill, looking down at a town. Every person there has a voice, but only a few can shout from the top. Now, imagine a magic tool that lets everyone climb up and shout, no matter how quiet they are. That tool is social media. It lets people speak without needing a big voice or a loud crowd. It's like giving everyone a microphone, even if they're just starting to sing. So the idea is this. Social media is like a big open stage. It lets everyone sing, but we all have to be respectful of each other's songs. The real magic isn't just in being heard, but in being heard clearly and kindly. That's how we make sure everyone's song can be part of the music. The first step in this process is setting up a platform. You need a device, a connection, and a purpose. It's not just about signing up. It's about choosing where your voice will be heard. You might start with a phone or a computer, but the setup is more than just hardware. It's about understanding the interface, the algorithms, and the expectations of the audience waiting on the other end. You might not realize it, but every click and swipe is part of the setup. You're not just creating an account. You're entering a system that shapes how your voice is seen and heard. Once the setup is done, the platform is ready. It's not just a space for posting. It's a stage where your voice can take shape, find an audience, and begin to be heard. When you post something, it's not just shared. It's processed, indexed, and made discoverable through algorithms that prioritize engagement, relevance, and reach. These algorithms are designed to surface content that keeps users active, often prioritizing emotionally charged or polarizing material over nuanced, thoughtful discourse. This creates a feedback loop where the most visible voices are often the loudest, not necessarily the most informed or representative of the broader public sentiment. As a result, platforms become spaces where visibility is currency, and the pursuit of attention often overshadows the pursuit of truth or depth. This mechanism shapes not just what is seen, but how we think about the world, often narrowing our perspectives in the name of engagement. A clever twist comes when the algorithm starts to prioritize engagement over authenticity. It doesn't just show you content, it shapes what you see based on what keeps you clicking. This means the most popular voices get louder, not because they're more important, but because the system is designed to reward noise over nuance. It's not just about what is shown, but how it is shown. what gets amplified, what gets silenced, and what gets recontextualized in the process. This twist is subtle, but it changes everything. It turns the platform from a tool of connection into a system of influence, where attention is the new currency. And so, the democratization of voice becomes a paradox. Everyone has a voice, but only some are heard, and only some are heard clearly. Underneath the noise, there's a quiet science of connection. Algorithms are not just code, but patterns that shape how we see the world. These patterns are built on human behavior: what we click, what we share, what we ignore. They map our attention like a nervous system. The real power is in the data itself, vast, invisible, and growing. It shapes what we know, what we feel, and what we think is possible. Democratization of voice is not just about access. It's about understanding the invisible forces that shape who gets heard and who gets lost. The science of social media is a double-edged sword. It gives power to many, but it also demands responsibility, awareness, and courage. Imagine a world where every person has a megaphone, but no one knows how to use it. That's the reality of social media today. Everyone can speak, but not everyone knows how to be heard. It's not about the quality of the voice, but the sheer volume. Social media has given us a platform where the loudest, not the wisest, often dominate the conversation. Democratization of voice isn't about equality of influence. It's about the possibility of influence. It's a chance to be heard, even if only for a moment. In the end, social media is like a megaphone. It doesn't make you wise, but it makes you audible. And that's a starting point, not a destination. So maybe it's not the best analogy, but it's a useful one. It captures the chaos, the hope, and the struggle of being heard in a world full of noise. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You wake up to a world where truth is a commodity, and lies are sold with the same swiftness as the morning news. Every click, every share, every like is a vote in a silent war for our minds, and we're not even aware we're fighting. We trust the source, not the truth, and in doing so, we become part of the problem and the solution. This isn't just about what we see. It's about what we believe, and how that belief shapes the world we live in. We're not just consumers of information. We're its architects, and the consequences of our choices are real, even if they're hard to see. We're talking about information that spreads like wildfire, but isn't always true. It moves faster than truth can catch up, and it's hard to tell what's real anymore. It's not just fake news. It's everything from conspiracy theories to manipulated videos, all designed to confuse, divide, and mislead. We're not just facing lies. We're facing a system that rewards attention, not accuracy. And that makes truth feel like just another click away. The challenge isn't just in knowing what's true. It's in knowing how to find it, when everything seems designed to trick us. And in that uncertainty, we're left wondering, how do we distinguish between what's real and what's been made to look real? You think you're just scrolling through news, but every click, every share, is a tiny vote for what gets seen and believed. When you spread a false story, you're not just passing on a rumor. You're giving it a voice, a platform, and a chance to shape reality. You might not realize it, but your digital choices are shaping a shared reality that could affect everything from politics to public health. The internet is a mirror. It reflects our beliefs, but it also magnifies them. And when we let misinformation shape our view, we shape our world. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist or a politician to be affected by the lies we let spread. They find their way into the stories we tell ourselves. The first time misinformation spread rapidly, it wasn't through screens or satellites. It was through whispers. in crowded markets and war-torn towns where rumors could travel faster than truth. Then came the radio, a new kind of voice that could reach millions, but also carry lies with the same speed as facts, often without the nuance to distinguish between the two. The internet was supposed to be a place of enlightenment, but it became a battleground where information could be weaponized, shared with a click, and swallowed without question. Today, we face a new kind of speedrun, where a single false post can spread faster than a virus, and the line between fact and fiction is more blurred than ever before. Imagine you're playing a game where you have to guess the right answer, but the rules keep changing, and sometimes the clues are lies. That's what happens when you try to find the truth online. You think you're learning something, but really, you're just being tricked. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces and fake ones thrown in. You want to know the truth, but the truth is hiding, and the wrong things are shouting the loudest. It's hard to know what to believe. The more you try to find the truth, the more confusing it gets. You're not just learning facts. You're learning how to be careful, how to ask questions, and how to stay smart. It all begins with a simple act, typing a message into a phone or laptop. A few words, a few clicks, and suddenly, a thought is out there in the world, waiting to be seen. That message doesn't just travel through wires. It moves through a vast network of servers, passing through cables and satellites, invisible to most of us. This setup isn't just about sending words. It's about shaping how those words are understood, shared, and ultimately believed. The infrastructure behind this is powerful, but it's not perfect. It's built for speed and reach, not for truth or clarity. And that's where the problems start. This is the first step in a chain that leads to misinformation, to confusion, to division. And it's all built on something that seems so simple. Just a message sent with intent. Once a post is made, it travels through a network of servers, each one acting like a relay station. The data moves fast, but it's not just about speed. It's about the path it takes through this digital world. Behind the scenes, algorithms decide where the information goes. They prioritize engagement, not accuracy, shaping what we see based on what keeps us clicking and scrolling. These systems aren't just passive. They learn from our behavior. Every like, share, or click teaches them what to show us next, creating a feedback loop that can reinforce misinformation. The more we engage with certain content, the more it's amplified. It's not just about what's true. It's about what keeps us hooked, what makes us feel seen, and what confirms our existing beliefs. This system is designed to connect us, but it's also shaping our reality in ways we may not fully understand. The mechanism is powerful, and its influence is everywhere, often unseen and deeply embedded in the way we consume information. Once the algorithm has identified a pattern, it begins to prioritize content that keeps users engaged. It's not just about clicks. It's about the time you spend, the scrolls you make, the likes you give. It's learning your preferences, shaping your world around them. But here's the clever twist. The algorithm doesn't just show you what you like. It shows you what you might believe. It uses your past behavior to predict what you're likely to accept as truth, even if it's not true. It's not about facts. It's about influence. The algorithm doesn't just feed you content. It feeds you a version of the world that fits your existing beliefs. It's a filter, but it's not neutral. It's a mirror, but it only shows you what it wants you to see. This isn't just about technology. It's about how we interact with it. We think we're choosing what to see, but we're being guided by a system that knows us better than we know ourselves. And that's the real danger. So the next time you see something on your feed, ask yourself, is this being shown to me because it's true, or because it fits the pattern of what I already believe? The answer might change everything. Behind every algorithm is a language of numbers, and in that language, truth is often drowned out by noise. These systems are designed to predict what we want to see, not what we need to know. The science of digital communication is not about control, but about the invisible forces shaping our attention. We are not just users of this technology. We are part of its ecosystem, and sometimes the ecosystem forgets to ask if we're still listening. The science behind our digital lives is silent, but it hums with the weight of everything we've allowed it to shape. Imagine a city where everyone has a megaphone, but no one knows how to listen. The loudest voices drown out the quiet truths, and the crowd begins to believe what they hear, not what they see. The city has no walls, no gates, just open space where the wind carries both the truth and the lies. No one can control what enters or what stays. The child is not alone, but they are the only one who still questions. The others have already turned their heads, believing the loudest voice is the right one. This is the digital world we live in. Not a city of walls, but of voices. And the loudest ones are not always the most truthful. We are all in this city. We are all trying to listen. But the question is, who will hear the truth before the noise drowns it out? Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. Imagine a world where your thoughts are translated into words before you even speak them. Where conversations aren't just heard, but felt, seen, and lived. This isn't science fiction. It's the next chapter in human communication, written by AI, powered by VR, and driven by the unrelenting desire to connect. We're not just talking about faster internet or smarter apps. We're talking about redefining what it means to be understood. The future of communication isn't just about connecting. It's about transcending the limits of language, time, and space. So what exactly are we talking about? Let's start by asking, what is communication? It's not just words or text. It's the way we connect, share, and understand each other in a world that's constantly changing. We're diving into the tools and technologies that are redefining how we interact. Tools that are no longer just about sending messages, but about creating shared experiences in real time. Then there's VR. Virtual reality is no longer just for gamers. It's becoming a space where we can meet, collaborate, and even work, all within a shared digital environment. And beyond that, we're looking at the next frontier. Haptic feedback, neural interfaces, and immersive environments that blur the line between the physical and the digital. This isn't just about technology. It's about reimagining how we connect, how we collaborate, and how we even perceive each other in an ever-evolving digital world. You might not realize it, but every message you send, every call you make, every interaction you have, those are all shaping the world around you. And soon, those interactions won't just be faster. They will be smarter, more immersive, and more personal than you ever imagined. Imagine a world where your conversations are not just heard, but understood. Where your words are met with context, empathy, and even a sense of presence. That's not a sci-fi dream. It's the next evolution of communication. This isn't just about technology. It's about connection. It's about being able to bridge distances, cultures, and even time in ways that feel natural, not artificial. And the best part? You're already part of this journey. Every time you use a voice assistant, stream a video call, or even scroll through social media, you're contributing to the foundation of this new communication era. So yes, you might not think about it every day, but you should secretly care. Because the future of how we connect is already here, and it's changing everything. Let's rewind to the 1800s, when the telegraph turned messages into lightning. It was the first step in making distance feel smaller, and it changed how we thought about connection. Then came the telephone, a miracle that made voices cross the world in seconds. It was like magic, and people couldn't believe their ears. The internet arrived like a digital revolution, turning the world into a place where information was instant and everywhere. It was the beginning of the connected age. Then came smartphones and social media, making communication not just faster, but more personal and constant. We never stopped talking, and that changed everything. Now, we're on the edge of something even bigger. AI, VR, and the next big leap. It's not just about connecting, but about creating new ways to exist together. Imagine talking to your friend, but they're not in the same room. They're in a video game, and it feels like they're right there with you. Now imagine your phone knows what you need before you even say it. It's like your best friend, but smarter and always ready. What if your phone could understand your voice, your feelings, and even your thoughts? That's what the future of communication is all about. It's not just about talking anymore. It's about being together, even when you're apart. And that's just the beginning. To begin, imagine a sleek, minimalist room with a central console. This is your hub, where all the future of communication starts. It's not just a device, it's a gateway to new realities. The console is equipped with a neural interface, a sleek, headband-like device that connects seamlessly to your brain. It's not just a tool, it's a bridge between thought and action. Around the console, there are gesture-sensitive panels and voice commands that respond instantly. The whole system is intuitive, designed for effortless interaction. The room itself is smart. Walls that adapt to your needs, lighting that changes with your mood, and ambient sounds that enhance your focus or relaxation. This is the foundation of the future of communication, where technology meets intuition and imagination becomes reality. Now, once the data is collected, it's transformed into a digital signal that can be processed by AI systems. This is where the magic truly begins. Patterns are identified, context is understood, and meaning is extracted from raw information. The AI doesn't just read the data. It learns from it, adapting to new inputs and refining its understanding in real time. This is how it becomes more than a tool. It becomes a partner in communication. But it doesn't stop there. These systems are interconnected, sharing insights across devices and platforms, creating a seamless flow of information that feels natural and intuitive. This is the mechanism behind the future of communication. A blend of speed, intelligence, and connection. It's not just about sending messages. It's about understanding, adapting, and evolving with you. With this mechanism in place, the possibilities are limitless. We're not just building tools. We're building a new way to be together, to think, and to create as one. Now let's talk about the clever twist. How these systems don't just react, but actually learn and adapt to you in real time. It's like having a personal assistant that's always one step ahead, anticipating your needs before you even say them. This is the real magic of the future. Communication isn't just about sending a message anymore. It's about creating a seamless, evolving experience. The system doesn't just understand you. It learns from you, growing with you, becoming more intuitive with every interaction. This isn't just the future. It's the next chapter of human connection, written in code and powered by curiosity. Beneath the surface of these futuristic tools, there is a quiet revolution in physics and computation. Quantum bits, or qubits, are rewriting the rules of information processing, enabling speeds and capabilities once thought impossible. Neural networks are now learning from the structure of the human brain itself, mimicking the way neurons fire and connect. This is the science of artificial intelligence, made tangible. The fusion of AI and VR is creating immersive environments that learn from you, adapting in real time to your behavior, moods, and even subconscious patterns. And beyond all this, we are on the cusp of something even more profound. Communication that transcends language, culture, and even biology, built on shared understanding and collective intelligence. Imagine your phone as a tiny spaceship, and your messages are the warp drives that carry your thoughts across the universe. It's simple, but it gets the point across. AI is like a super smart co-pilot, always learning, always adapting, guiding you through the chaos of communication with a wink and a nudge. The internet is like a vast invisible city, with AI as the traffic lights, VR as the skyscrapers, and you, the explorer, navigating the streets of connection. And in this future, we don't just communicate. We connect, not just with words, but with presence, with feeling, with the shared experience of being alive. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You know that moment when your phone buzzes, and for a second, you forget where you are? It's not the message that's strange. It's the silence that follows, the way the world seems to pause. We're all just trying to stay human, in a world that's more connected than ever, but somehow more disconnected than before. That's what this video is about. Reimagining connection, balancing technology with humanity. Let's start by asking, what does it mean to connect in a world that never stops talking? So what exactly are we talking about? It's not just about screens and wires. It's about the quiet moments when technology fades into the background and we're left with the weight of being human. It's about how we use our devices to stay connected, yet feel more isolated than ever. It's the paradox of being constantly reachable, yet never truly present. It's about the stories we tell ourselves, how technology is a tool, not a master. But sometimes it's hard to remember that we're the ones holding the reins. And it's about the possibility of reimagining connection, not as something we take for granted, but as something we choose with intention and care. You think you've got this all figured out. Technology is just a tool, right? But what if the tool you're using is quietly reshaping the way you feel, think, and connect with the world around you? You might not notice it at first, but the way you scroll, the way you respond, even the way you pause, it all leaves a mark. It's not just what you do with the tech, but how it changes you. You might not be the one creating the algorithms, but you're still part of a system. And that system has a way of shaping your attention, your priorities, even your sense of self. This isn't about rejecting technology. It's about understanding how it subtly influences your life and realizing that you too are part of the conversations. So maybe you should care. Not because you're perfect, but because you're human. And that means you're always being shaped by the world around you, including the one you're building with technology. We've always been wired for connection. From the first time a cave painting told a story, to the first time a fire was shared, our humanity has been shaped by the act of being together. Then came the wheel, the written word, the printing press. Each a new way to bridge distance, to share thoughts across time and space. The telephone, radio, TV, internet, each step brought us closer, but also made us more isolated, more fragmented, more alone in a crowd. We built bridges to connect, but sometimes we forgot why we built them. We lost the touch, the warmth, the human heartbeat that makes connection real. Now, we're at a crossroads. We have the tools to connect more deeply than ever, but we must choose to use them not to escape from each other, but to come together. Imagine you're playing with your toys, and then someone comes and says, "Let's use a phone instead." You might think, why not just play? But sometimes the phone makes it harder to see what's right in front of you. The phone is like a magic box that can show you anything, but it can also make you forget how to look at the world. You can watch a dragonfly or a bird sing, but you might miss the real one in your room. So, the trick is to use the magic box, but not let it take over. You can still play, laugh, and feel real, even when you're using it. It's like having a friend who helps you see more, not one who replaces your world. The magic box is cool, but it's not everything. You can still be curious, kind, and feel alive, even if you're holding it. Just don't forget to look up and see the real magic. So it starts with a quiet room, a single lamp casting soft light across the desk. I sit down, not just to use the device, but to begin a conversation between myself and the world, between my mind and the people I care about. I take a breath, not just to calm myself, but to remind myself that this isn't just about sending a message. It's about being present, even when the world feels far away. Setting it up isn't just about turning it on. It's about creating space, mental, emotional, physical, for connection to happen without distraction. It's about choosing to be human, even in a digital world. And so, I begin, not with a message, but with a moment. A moment to be still, to be present, and to remember that technology is only as meaningful as the intention behind it. So, it's not about cutting off the internet, but about designing spaces where technology serves the human need, not the other way around. Step 2 is about building systems that don't just connect people, but also ask, does this connection serve someone or just the platform? This isn't about rejecting technology, but about making sure it's not the default mode of being. It's about choosing presence over performance. The mechanism here is simple. We design our interactions with technology around what we truly need. Connection, not distraction. Meaning, not noise. And in that choice, we reclaim our humanity, not as a counter to technology, but as its truest purpose. The clever twist isn't about rejecting technology, but about embracing it as a bridge, not a barrier. It's about using the tools we've built to bring us closer, not push us apart. Imagine a world where your smart device isn't just monitoring your habits, but reminding you of the people who matter most. It's about making technology feel like a companion, not a stranger. The real power of this twist lies in the small, deliberate choices we make. It's not about perfection, but about being present with the tools we have. It's a reminder that technology can be a mirror, reflecting our deepest desires for connection, if we're willing to look through it instead of past it. So, the clever twist is this: use technology not to escape from life, but to re-enter it with more clarity, more intention, and more heart. There is a quiet rhythm beneath the noise, neural signals, electromagnetic waves, the pulse of life itself. We're not just using technology, we're part of a vast, interconnected web of energy and information. Neuroscience tells us that connection isn't just about data. It's about synchronizing brain waves, mirroring emotions, and feeling seen in a way no screen ever can. We're not replacing human connection with technology. We're extending it. But we have to be careful not to lose the soul in the signal. The science is clear. We're not just users of technology. We're its creators, its users, and its guardians. The future of connection depends on how we choose to use it. Think of the internet as a vast, silent forest. We walk through it, our phones in our hands, searching for something we can't quite name. Every step echoes, but no one is there to hear it. We're not looking for trees, or birds, or even paths. We're looking for connection. But the forest is full of mirrors. We see ourselves reflected in the glass, but not in each other. Sometimes, we find what we're looking for in the wrong place. A message, a photo, a notification, all of them whispering that we're not alone. But the silence is louder than the noise. And sometimes, we realize that the forest is not the enemy. It's just a place, a tool, a mirror, a way to reach out, but not a way to replace the warmth of being together. So maybe we should walk through the forest, but not with our eyes on the screen. Maybe we should look up and see the trees and hear the silence and feel the weight of being truly present, not just connected. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.